You're the co-president of Pause. Can you talk about what Pause is and how you and the group of student athletes raise awareness about the importance of mental health?
Okay, so Pause is just the student athlete led organization that actually a alumni of women's soccer started. It's just an organization that we have that we think is so important because it lets our student athletes have a voice regarding mental health. There's so many people that, kind of shy away from it, and we just want to bring it to light and break the stigmas surrounding it just to help everyone who doesn't have as much as a voice as me and the other people on the e-board do.
Hmm. And so how can we break the stigma around mental health and encourage all student athletes to seek mental health resources?
I think we can break the stigma by talking about it, literally just bringing it up and not shying away from it and acknowledging that it's a real thing and it does affect a lot of people more than you think, and just making it a conversation.
How have your conversations gone, like outside of Pause? Like, have you had, those in-depth conversations that haven't been necessarily structured?
Yeah, my team is really big on it. We talk about a lot of the little things all the time, from how certain people speak to each other, like the coach's example for this, to the players, and how we're feeling week to week, especially after a hard week of practice or when things are a little slow. It's definitely a conversation that needs to be had, and our team does a good job at pushing the awkward boundaries and getting past that and finding solutions.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. My question to you is, earlier this fall, US Lacrosse Magazine did an article talking about how you began hosting conversation on race with your team. Can you talk about that more?
Yeah, so after George Floyd, I started holding forums, just to provide a space for people to, I guess, get their thoughts out, have conversations. It kind of developed into partnering with an organization called Diallo, the Black American Youth Liberation Organization. So I held forums through there on topics of gentrification, how cultural appropriation affects African Americans, the misconceptions of the Black Lives Matter movement, amongst other things. It was really just a space for people to just listen, gain perspective, and be present. Um, yeah, it
That,
was a powerful thing.
that's really cool. Um, Last month, we were both part of the America East Spread Respect conversation, and you gave a great piece of advice to listen, learn, and gain perspective. Can you talk about how an individual could engage with those three things, and when we talk about the intersection of race and mental health?
Um, with that, it's trying to when you have these conversations, it's looking at whoever you're talking to as an equal. You try to just hear where they're coming from, where their struggles are. I mean, you may not always relate, but you can always empathize. I think that's something people need to understand is you may not understand what's going on 100% of the time, but if you can try to relate or try to be open to different views and different perspectives, it might take you somewhere you didn't think it would take you before. So just being present, you know, treating someone as they want to be treated.
Yeah, I agree.
So to you, how can we and student athletes of color empower other student athletes of color to have conversations about mental health and seek help if they need it?
I think the biggest thing for that one is just encouraging each other to talk about it. Um, Empowerment comes through supporting, and if you support people with whatever they do regarding mental health, I'm sure it'll have a positive outcome. Break There's a lot of stigmatization around the Black community and mental health, and just breaking that down and making people more comfortable about certain situations and about needing help would definitely help empower the student athletes.
So being comfortable, what strategies or what ways would you tell someone to if they were to approach someone about mental health, what would you tell them to do to make that person feel comfortable?
I would say to just listen. Sometimes people don't even need a response. They just
Yeah.
need open ears and to know that somebody is listening, that they care, and that when you are done sharing whatever you need to share, that you guys both have a common goal of accomplishing something. Just an open ears is literally all some people need.
So, can you share with us a personal experience about seeking help or overcoming mental health challenges?
Yes. So, my junior year, I had just come off from tearing my ACL, and I was out for the whole year, whole season, missed the whole thing. Had 5 practices in maybe, and things were starting up again. Soccer was back. It was like a new situation for me. I was very timid. I wasn't mentally fully back yet. I was really scared of going near a soccer ball, putting on cleats. Like I was just not fully there, and like
Okay.
people were coming in and out of my life, and life was just really just not going how I wanted it to socially and soccer wise. So I did speak with a sports psychologist at Stony Brook, and she helped me through everything: soccer, social life, school. Like she was just someone I could talk to and helped me overcome so many like personal boundaries and personal things that I did not even know I had. And she was really awesome. And I definitely recommend talking to somebody at some point. Everyone should do it.
What would you say was the hardest part about all that?
The first day, sitting there and talking to her, and it took me a couple sessions to realize like I can trust this woman. I can be open with her, and she's not judging me. She's not, spreading my business. She's literally just there to help me talk. And I think once you get past that little wall that you have put up, it is
Mm-hmm.
just open opportunity for everybody.
Good to hear.
So there's a stigma around mental health seen as a weakness and potentially a reason why many male student athletes won't seek help for mental health resources. Can you talk about how those who may be hesitant to reach out or talk about it find resources and help?
Yeah, I mean, with sports in general, I mean, not I know the question says like males, but you know, as an athlete, you're not you're told not to have any weaknesses. You're supposed to work as hard as you can to be perfect, essentially, um, and that's like an extra weight, not just like on ourselves, but like our coaches may put that on us. And I know people have a fear of like opening up because it's like, will I lose playing time, things like that. Um, and sports is only a certain amount of time in your life, and it's important that you're mentally sound for the life after sports. um, so in terms of like reaching out and finding resources, you shouldn't be hesitant to take care of yourself. You yourself, your mentals, your physical, like it's a priority. And finding resources, it just takes asking one person like, what should I do, what did you do? Coming to things like this and just like listening and learning about what can be done and what people have done to help themselves.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people are educated enough on mental health and like the resources they have?
No, I don't think so, honestly. I mean, especially athletes, like with all of our day to days and like what we have to focus on, like time is like a problem. It's like, okay, I have tutoring, I have class, I have practice, I have lift. Like, where am I going to have time for this? Um, and I feel like, it's hard for people to like, one, find these resources, but two, find the time for it. Um, but I think once people like realize how vital it is, how important it is, they will like work for it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
That's a good point.
So my last question, I guess, for you is, what advice do you have for student athletes of color on seeking help with mental health resources?
I would say my biggest advice would be to just try and talk to somebody. If you prefer to talk to somebody like you, find a friend or find a coach or a teammate or somebody. And if you have no preference, talk to literally anybody. Like there's so many resources, especially I know at Stony Brook, I'm sure it's similar at your school. So many resources that are there for you that make a point to reach out. And even myself, like the e-board members of Pause, there's just so many opportunities to just be open, and I hope people know that I'm an option. Like, I'm here to listen, and I hope that, you know, other people are there for their friends as well.
Are there any like techniques or strategies that you use to like, you know, remain calm and just like bring everything back to your center and just relax that you could share?
Yeah, so my best friend, she has a lot of anxiety, and I tend to be the person she comes to regarding it. And my biggest thing is like when she's freaking out, I can't freak out. So I remember just to breathe, relax, and I have to remind her, like, live in the now, don't think about the future. You
Mm.
know, live right now, just bring yourself back to where you are, and then we'll handle it step by step. I think a lot of people tend to think in the future and to think about X, Y, and Z that's happening next week or the week after that, and just bring yourself back to the present, and then deal step by step. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't freak out. Just breathe.
That's good advice. I'm gonna use that for sure.
My last question for you is, what advice do you have for our student athlete allies on supporting student athletes of color who may be facing mental health challenges?
For the allies out there, just, you know, if you think something is wrong, like take action. You know, don't just wait for something to maybe develop, or like, oh, they're just having a bad day. Okay, if they're having a bad day, approach them in a manner and just ask them what's wrong. It may not be a big thing, but it could be a big thing, and you could potentially help that person. Um, so for you allies, if you know, it's like if you're uncertain, like just, you know, be precautious and like ask. Um, yeah, just, you know, like you said, just being like open ears for anyone who needs help or needs to just like vent.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah,
Asking is a huge thing, especially in the Black community, because people just assume like I'm angry, you know. And I think asking, "Oh, are you having a bad day? Is something wrong?" could really just break a lot of stigmas and help everybody in the end.
yeah. I think approaching it too, like, you know, if you're like, take them to the side. Don't just like in a public setting be like, "What's wrong with you?" You know, like, you know, be sensitive of how people feel and how they might take things. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's all the questions I have for you. That was a lot. I appreciate that.